Hello and welcome to another 2018 Don's Trust Board election candidate interview. My name is Nick Draper, but more importantly, I am speaking to Matt Breach today. Matt, you are restanding.
Yeah, hello.
Haven't been on the board for 12 years. We'll get to your history as a Don's Trust Board member very shortly, but first of all, I understand you've been under the weather lately.
Yes, I had some strange pains down in my stomach area, which I've been to the GP, was incorrectly diagnosed, but ended up it was actually chronic appendicitis. So I had to go into hospital to get that removed, and it was infected as well, which has delayed the recovery. So essentially, pretty much the entire election process up till now, I've been completely out of action. So it's good timing to be able to at least have a chat with you on the phone today to try and get something across. It'll probably be another couple of weeks so I'm allowed to travel. So unfortunate timing, but I suppose it's only going to happen once in my life.
And every cloud.
Yeah.
You have not had to watch Wimbledon lately.
Yes, I suppose there is that. Although ironically enough, I have actually won the last two games, but there you go.
One of those didn't count though, really.
No, but it's nice when your reserves beat someone else's reserves.
On that score, not only have you been missing football, I'm guessing you've been off work as well, but what is your occupation? What do you do for a living?
I'm actually an engineering director for Thales Ground Transportation Systems, which is basically railway signalling and communications. So our biggest project is actually re-signalling a large chunk of the London Underground at the moment, trying to stop as many of the signal failures that delay my train in the morning as possible.
What is your train in the morning? Which tube lines do you have to get on?
I actually get on at Chalfont and Latimer, so I'm right out in the end of the Met line. I go the whole way into Aldgate. Our office is in Tower Hill, so I walk from Aldgate. So it's the whole length of the Met line, basically.
Oh, wow. Hey, again, it could be worse. It's not the worst tube line to be on. We all know that's the Northern line, of course. But anyway, as a Wimbledon fan then, how long have you been supporting the club?
First game I went to was actually Walsall at home, which was the first game we were on BBC, Match of the Day,
oh, yes.
1984. I'd sort of supported Palace-ish from afar because I was born down in South London, so I was actually in Selhurst Road, and Wimbledon from afar with my non-league team ever since they nearly beat Leeds, who my brother supported. But I'd never been to see either team. And when I went to university, I was just bored one Saturday and looked around Wimbledon at home and thought, I'll go and give that a try, and just got instantly hooked. It was the year we went up from the third to the second, and I've had a season ticket ever since.
And where is your season ticket today at Kingsmeadow?
Basically in the middle of the John Green stand, just a bit to the left of the goal as you look at it from the far end.
All good. So you are standing then for re-election, like we said before. I believe you've been a member on the board for 12 years. And in your manifesto, you quite simply state, I believe I've made a real positive difference to the club in my time on the board, so in those 12 years. Can you expand on that? What do you think you've achieved in that time?
Probably some of the biggest things that I've done. I did quite a lot in trying to come up with the original strategy exercise that we did, pulling that together and getting us to really understand what our targets were. And that really was the major thing that told us that actually the new stadium was probably more important than some of the things that until that point the board had been focusing on. Probably created a much more workable relationship with the football club board and Eric as CEO than we'd had previously when I took over as chair. It was a little confrontational before. Also, there does need to be some healthy tension because we're obviously doing oversight of the football club board. You've got to have a working relationship that enables you to share information and for the football club board not to feel like they want to keep anything from us or else it just won't work. So trying to make sure that relationship is healthy and works, I think, was important. And then just all the effort that's gone on in trying to get to the point where, we're not in a new stadium yet, but the real moves towards it are there. We've knocked the old one down. We should hopefully have a start build. by January at the latest. So I think that will be my proudest achievement. And to a degree, one of the things I'm so keen on now standing again and pushing through for another term was I really want to see us get back there and make sure nothing happens to derail that. So I think it's the most important thing for the future of the club is to get back to Wimbledon.
We actually have a question from a member regarding the stadium that I'll come to just very shortly. But before that, another thing you said there was talking about the relationship between the Dons Trust Board and the Football Club Board. And it's another thing you've referenced is that you're currently the deputy chair.
Yeah.
You were actually the chair, weren't you? How many years was it so you were the chair?
Probably about 6 years. I mean, basically, when I changed my job just over a year ago, that's taken up a lot more of my time than the previous job did, and it just became infeasible to spend the amount of time it was taking me to act as chair and in the new job as well. Which is why I stepped down to deputy chair, where I can fill in and help Mark out as necessary and do some and work on that relationship. But I'm not having to do as much around the organising of the Dons Trust Board itself and the meetings, etc.
Yeah, and just for anyone that's not sure, just clarify, Mark, by Mark you mean Mark Davis?
Mark Davis, yes, current chair.
Yeah. So in part of that role as deputy chair, you sit in on the monthly Football Club Board meetings?
Essentially, what we do is at least one of Mark and I goes to every meeting.
Okay.
We do occasionally both go, but we both have full-time jobs, and they meet during the day. So it's normally a case of who's able to take the day off to go most easily. And occasionally, so I think we've both done a meeting once in the last 6 months, but one or other of us always goes.
Now, one of those meetings, is that on a sort of more of an observational capacity? Are you there just to observe or get wind of what's happening? Or are you consulted on different matters? Is it a watching brief, or is it you're involved as part of the decision making?
We are involved. I mean, if for people who understand business boards, effectively we act as a non-exec director on that. So Eric chairs, and that will transition through to Joe at some point. The board goes through what they do, but we're consulted, and in particular, it's a case of them where there are things that they either want to know if the Dons Trust Board would want to have a view on or to get involved in, or if it's something that they believe the Dons Trust Board would want to have oversight of. They test that with us up front. So it's an early setup saying, yes, this is something that must go to the Dons Trust Board. This is something that actually, okay, I've taken out a board. We don't think they need to have a formal vote, but we'll let the rest of the board know and get back to you if there's an issue, or simply just to say, no, that's an operational matter. That's up to you. So we try and clearly define that operational matters are the responsibility of the Football Club Board. We're for strategic oversight and to appoint the Football Club Board. That's what the Dons Trust Board does. So we shouldn't get involved in operational matters.
This operational strategic thing, do you think supporters, general fans and Dons Trust members, do you think they understand that distinction?
I would suspect that a lot of people would have different views over what that really meant. So, but it's very hard to articulate easily. Therefore, I suspect a lot of people don't quite get it. Essentially, by operation, what you mean is the Football Club Board runs the football club. Our strategic oversight is we tell them how we want them to run the football club and get involved in major decisions that have a strategic impact in how what the football club does. So as an example, just trying to think of something suitable, that's topical for today, just appointment of a new manager. They actually run the process and come up with and say, this is what we want to do, but we need to agree. We agree or not, as I say, we get there. So no, we have that oversight role and the ability to influence majors or veto major decisions. We appoint all members to the Football Club Board. That's not something they can do themselves, for instance.
With these meetings then, these Football Club Board meetings, You've said there that certain matters are then referred to the Don's Trust board, and then with a view perhaps to consulting further with the Don's Trust membership. But aside from those issues, does the actual football club meetings themselves, are the contents of those meetings ever released to supporters? And do you think it's perhaps something that should happen, especially trying to help, like you're saying there, help people understand exactly what the roles of each board is?
That's a good question, actually. I've never thought of it in that way. In simple terms, it's day-to-day business of how you actually operate the football club. So there's lots of stuff around contracts and commercial, which obviously would need to be redacted in some shape or form if we're pushing that through. And we report, and all of that information does get collated by whoever is at the meeting, and we send a summary report back to everyone on the Don's Trust board, just so they're all aware of roughly what's going on. It might be interesting thought to actually come up with a typical, this is what a football club board meeting actually covers, to try and explain to people how we do business. I mean, it's normally fairly well structured. There's an hour around football at the beginning or end of the meeting, depending on the training schedule that involves the manager, where they quiz and talk about what they do there. There's normally a good hour on the stadium, and then we go through each of the departments, so there's commercial, financial, operations, and running of the game, and then any special stuff. So, I mean, it's a standard sort of business type meeting, but that's an interesting point. Could be something we could take to membership. This is roughly what happens in the meetings.
And there's something in your manifesto you say that you'll be taking to the membership, or you're working on taking to the membership very shortly, which is another consultation, another survey. You want to survey the fans following, in similar vein as to one that was carried out in 2011.
Yes.
This survey, can I just ask, well, first of all, you say this follows an NEF survey. Can I just clarify what that was, the NEF survey?
Right. So it goes back, the 2011 strategy we did. We were actually helped by a think tank called the New Economic Foundation.
Right.
They're a sort of left-leaning think tank, but particular approach that they have, which is how you try and get people to rank a number of conflicting viewpoints. So there was sort of you want everything. We want to have a stadium in Wimbledon, and we want to be successful, and we want to be fans owned, but we can't necessarily have all of that because that will cost too much. What are your actual priorities? So you have a mechanism of how that might work. And we used that, and it worked really well, I thought, in doing the survey to help put the strategy forward back in 2011, which formed the last strategy. Since that, because basically the outcome of that said, get a new stadium in Wimbledon is the most important thing, that's what we've been concentrating on. But now was really a good time to start seeing what we should be doing next. What are the next most important things for people and members, and how do we deal with those? So that's the sort of approach. We're just going to use the same approach we did last time in how we pose the questions, but effectively it's a survey that's aimed at trying to guide us writing a complete refresh of the strategy. It's been delayed slightly because obviously I'm leading that, and I've been in hospital for a couple of weeks, but hopefully that will be on the move again very shortly.
As consultation, so we're looking at 2019, so it'll be about 8 years since the previous one. Yeah. What would you say to people that sort of think perhaps, whilst these surveys are welcome, that we might have arguably waited a bit too long as a fan base to be spoken to about these things? Do you think that fans are not properly engaged at the moment with decision making?
There's always, I think it's truism almost that you can never have enough, or you can never have too much communication, and you probably can't spend too long engaging with people. But equally, one of the big things is over the last 6-7 years, almost that entire period, has been completely subsumed by a colossal amount of work in trying to push forward the new stadium project, which was the number one outturn of everyone basically saying that's what we need. it's both an imperative to try and move it back to Wimbledon, and the only way we're going to be able to develop as a football club is to have a larger and better stadium. So the two key things out of the last strategy really manifested themselves in having a better stadium in Wimbledon. And I think it's quite hard to put into any sort of quantitative terms just how much work's gone into that whole project going forward. I mean, it's probably subsumed 60 to 80% of the time that the Don Trust board has had over the last 6-7 years. It's assumed a lot of the football club board's time, Eric obviously in particular, way more time than he really should be giving to us. So we've had the problem of being really stretched at trying to do the things that need to be done and trying to manage as much as we can on the communications and other side as well. I mean, probably every year we've had a new initiative to try and help communications and or surveying, and each of those have had a little effect, but probably not enough. That's probably why we are where we are today. I'd really hope that we can start making a major difference in that over the next year or two, because we should be coming out the other side of all of the things that have been sucking up so much time around the stadium.
And talking about the stadium, as I referenced briefly earlier, we had a question from a Don's Trust member, Matt Cooper, who was interested what your views would be on perhaps spending a little bit more money to ensuring the stadium is more architecturally interesting and perhaps taking money from other areas, for instance, the first team playing budget, for example. Is that something that you'd agree with, or do you think we should be trying to limit costs as much as we can?
At the moment, the basic design of the stadium and some of its features actually do have what I would consider some architecturally interesting pieces to them. And certainly the final stadium, whenever we manage to get the rest of the money and become a proper championship team looking forward, has a lot of interesting features. I mean, there's a few that are thrown in, like the large animated wall on the side facing the flats, which was pushed on us by the GLA, but that's something that's quite an interesting architectural feature, as all the floodlights, some of the other stuff. So I think it is a well thought out and architecturally interesting stadium as far as we can go, but we are really stuck for money. And there are issues around the difference between the capital money we could spend on the stadium and effectively operating money. So, for instance, the taking money off the playing budget really won't make a lot of difference, because that's sort of a season-on-season thing and doesn't get you that initial build. The money we need to build the stadium is basically what we have in our pockets in January to last us for the year, because that's when the whole lot's got to be paid for. So it's not as simple as trying to take money from elsewhere, but I do agree we want to try and have the best stadium it's possible for us to have, and that does include trying to make it interesting and individual rather than just being yet another identikit stadium. The fact that it's only going to be half of the real stadium is going to be built in the first instance is probably going to make it less identikit than you'd imagine anyway. But I think as it comes together, it'll actually be a more dramatic stadium than many of the new ones that you've seen around.
Well, great. Thank you very much. I have one more question before we get on to our little game that we're going to play at the end with you. This is a very, very quick answer, actually. But you could even do a yes or no for this one. Do you believe that the Don's Trust board should be as diverse as its fan base? I'm not sure if we take statistics on the sort of makeup of our fans, season ticket holders or whatever, but do you think that should be almost directly related to the diversity on the board?
It's always one of those difficult ones where we're an elected board and it relies on who actually stands for election. But in principle, diversity is a good thing. I've been through quite a lot of that work, and it's been proven that having diversity and inclusion in the workplace and in work environments is positive. So yes, I think that would be good. And currently the board isn't. But then a lot of that has just been down to who's been willing to stand up till now. So if we're going to do something constructive about it, it's going to be how do we encourage a more diverse set of people to stand.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Right. To finish off then, a couple of things actually. Well, first of all, for all the candidates this year, we have formed an anagram of your names, which I thought I'd like to reveal to you right now. Yours is one of the better ones, I think, because it's good for a Don's Trust board member, I think. It's simply BAM, chatter. And I think any good Don's Trust board meeting must have lots of chatter. I'm sure you'll agree. And then second part of this is our game. 89 seconds, we call this, in reference to the fact the club was formed in 1889. Wimbledon Old Centrals. And it's very simple. 89 seconds worth of quickish fire, either or questions, and just give us your opinion on the choices that I give you. Sounds all right to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I will set the timer and off we go. So, pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
No.
Rom-com or thriller?
Thriller.
Blur or Oasis?
Oasis.
PC or Mac?
Mac.
£25 a year to be a Don's Trust member is too expensive, yes or no?
No.
Would you rather spend a week having to say your sentences backwards or communicating via charades?
Charades.
I have to follow that up with charades or charades?
Charades.
Charades. I wasn't sure. Yeah, thank you. Jack Black or Seth Rogen?
Ooh, Jack Black.
Rowing machine or running machine?
Can I have neither?
Nope. One or the other, I'm afraid.
Running then.
Would you rather live with boxing gloves for hands or ice skates for feet?
Boxing gloves.
Avocados, yes or no?
No.
Who is your favourite one-show presenter, Alex Jones or Matt Baker?
Don't really watch it, but Matt Baker.
Relegation, disaster or a chance to rebuild?
Always be positive, chance to rebuild.
And then finally, the big question, just as the buzzer goes, when you make a cup of tea, do you put the bag in the mug first and then the water, or do you put the milk in first?
Right. Well, I don't drink tea, but when I make it for anyone else, it's always bag in, bag out, then milk.
Correct. That is the right answer. Anna Kingsley, I'm very sorry. You got that one very, very wrong. But, Matt, that's great. Thank you very much for joining us, or joining me, I should say.
Thank you very much.
And good luck in the forthcoming election.
Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see everyone in a couple of weeks or so when I'm hopefully back for Southend.
Perfect. Thank you very much.